Faithfully deliver value and interpret the world's best books.
Hi, this is Sally with Book Talk.
Today, the book we're interpreting for you is Big Thinking, with the subtitle Collective Wisdom. How do we change our world? In the past, nation states were relatively closed and societal problems were simpler, like how to get a good harvest or how to fend off invasions by foreign peoples. But as globalization deepens, information exchange, financial ties, and even disease spread are getting more frequent. So the problems people face are getting more complex. Uh, but for example, global warming, financial crises, terrorism, population aging, and so on. Though humanity has gained amazing wisdom over thousands of years of civilization, we got to admit, facing these issues, people are still kind of lost and struggle to find solutions. The key problem here is the misallocation of wisdom. Humans aren't focusing their smarts on the most critical and urgent problems. Jeff Hammerbacher, Facebook's former data chief, once said, "The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads."
So, in the smart age, how can people connect with machines to use tech and make us all smarter?
How can online and offline groups collaborate to be more efficient? How can society's governments or management systems tackle complex problems? This is the key point we're covering today. Collective wisdom. The book's author is Jeff Mulgan, hailed as the father of innovation in the UK. He also has a Chinese name, Joe Rogan. He served as an advisor to the UK Prime Minister's Strategy Office and is now CEO of the National Endowment for Science, Technology, and the Arts, plus a visiting professor at the London School of Economics and University of London. Joe Rogan has years of government experience, worked on many big collaborative projects, and has deep knowledge and research in collective wisdom.
So,
Next, I'll break this book down into 3 questions to explain. First, what is collective wisdom? Second, what basic skills and external conditions are needed to build collective wisdom? Third, how to apply collective wisdom to real-world problems. Let's start with the first question. What is collective wisdom? Collective wisdom is pulling the smarts of more people to solve a common problem, achieving better results than any one person could. As the saying goes, 3 cobblers with their wits combined equals zhuge liang. But does that mean 3 cobblers together can always pull it off? No, probably not. 3 people are likely to disagree or be unwilling to contribute ideas to the same issue. If more people get involved, it becomes even harder to form collective wisdom. Therefore, how to reasonably organize people to inspire their wisdom and focus it on one problem is a very profound discipline. It's not just simple management to make a company or city run smoothly, nor is it simple democracy, where one person, one vote just voices an opinion. Instead, it's about forming a shared mindset to tackle the same problem. At the same time, with the rise of artificial intelligence, this wisdom isn't just human intelligence, but also includes machine intelligence. Actually, collective wisdom isn't a product of modern civilization. It's as old as human civilization itself. When facing major problems, humans have long organized themselves to use collective wisdom to solve them. The ancient Greek historian Thucydides documented collective wisdom, describing how armies attacked towns at that time. At that time, there were no very advanced engineering weapons. When encountering particularly high walls, people needed to make ladders on the spot to scale them. At this point, the first challenge was how to accurately determine the wall's height. Their calculation method was to measure the thickness of a single brick on the wall, then count the layers of bricks on the exterior to figure out the height. Next, many people would start counting together. Although someone might miscount, having multiple participants ensured accuracy. In modern times, due to the rise of artificial intelligence and social networks, humans have more forms and possibilities for mutual cooperation, and the organizational forms of collective wisdom have become increasingly diverse. There are structures ranging from very loose to very tight. First, let's look at the loosest structures. like some online platforms where knowledge is aggregated spontaneously without conscious cooperation. Wikipedia is a classic example of this kind of collective wisdom where everyone can upload, edit, and correct entries. Next, look at smaller groups with tighter organization, like friends on vacation together who need to make collective decisions on which route to take, which restaurant to go to, when to leave, and so on. Um, uh, this requires conscious coordination, usually achieved through much dialogue and negotiation. The structures of large companies are even tighter. They have a clear hierarchy with distinct roles at different decision-making levels. Wisdom from various company levels is organized to form effective collaboration, thus creating collective wisdom. Not only are organizational forms diverse, but today's new technologies also make the presentation of collective wisdom very diverse. For example, the American company Planet Labs built the largest satellite network in history, capable of continuously monitoring Earth's ecological conditions. They use Dove satellites, which are very small, about the size of a shoebox, that big. Therefore, its low launch cost allows multiple satellites to be deployed in different regions, making Earth observation more efficient. For instance, satellites over Myanmar observed nighttime light coverage, revealing the region's economic growth was slower than World Bank projections. In Kenya, satellites tracked metal roof counts, indicators of informal settlements, showing how quickly Kenyans are escaping poverty, while in China, satellites monitored truck numbers in factory parking lots, indirectly reflecting production levels. Acquiring data and information is a crucial component of wisdom. Machine intelligence provides more systematic, persistent, global information that's easier for collective processing. Beyond that, memory is also a key cornerstone of wisdom. For example, advances in image and voice recognition allow machines to analyze online information faster, like Google Photos recognizing dogs, tombstones, and many other items in pictures. Twitter identifies pornographic images without human intervention, and smartphone assistants parse speech to respond appropriately. All these rely on memory.
Despite mentioning so many new technologies, don't you go thinking, today's collective wisdom is just big data.
While machine intelligence develops, human wisdom is also connecting massively to form higher-level collective intelligence. This is mainly thanks to the internet enabling global collaboration across regions, professions, and skill sets on single projects. For example, Amazon's Mechanical Turk, where employers post tasks like writing product copy or selecting store photos, and anyone can participate. Ultimately, the collective completes a task. Another example, in the early 2000s, Oxford University's Galaxy Zoo platform mobilized hundreds of thousands of volunteers. They classified images of galaxies. The Polymath project encourages people to collaborate on solving tough math problems. So, this approach is more effective than mathematicians working alone. At this point, you might think about combining humans and machines to achieve greater collective wisdom. Actually, Google Maps is a great example. It deploys camera-equipped vehicles to automatically capture street view imagery. On the other hand, it leverages public contributions through map-making tools, allowing everyone to edit maps in areas they know. Global medicine is another great example. Hospitals and research institutes share case data and experimental results. Doctors consult collectively online to access cutting-edge treatments, locate optimal drugs or transplant organs. Even patient sensors and pacemakers transmit data directly to systems. For instance, the UK's National Cancer Registration and Analysis Service compiles 300,000 annual cancer cases, including diagnoses, treatments administered, and outcomes. Once aggregated, scientists build computer models from this data. These models analyze treatment outcomes, symptom correlations, and optimal therapies for specific conditions. Thus, future cancer patients can choose personalized treatment plans based on these models and their individual circumstances. In this section, we've explored what collective wisdom truly is, its organizational forms, and diverse manifestations driven by new technologies. Essentially, collective wisdom synergizes diverse intelligences through effective communication and organization to tackle major challenges. This includes both human and machine intelligence, creating capabilities surpassing individual cognition. Since collective wisdom is so compelling and potent, how do we actually build it? That leads to the book's second question. What fundamental skills are needed to form collective wisdom? External conditions and practical tools. Let's begin by discussing what abilities are needed to form collective wisdom. Imagine this scenario. 100 passengers stranded at a remote island airport where all staff mysteriously vanished, power and networks cut off, forcing them to find survival methods. Now their best option is to unite, form collective wisdom, and ultimately escape this predicament. First, they need a basic assessment of their situation. For instance, can all passengers communicate verbally? If not, they'll need alternative communication methods. Also, is this deserted island habitable or full of major dangers? What must people rely on to survive? After these assessments, passengers should spread out to explore, observe, gather maximum information, then analyze and evaluate the actual conditions. Like, is there enough food on the island? How long will existing supplies last? Is there a major hurricane threat? How did this accident actually happen? Are there terrorists among passengers? Then they must decide on a common goal. With limited resources and manpower, they must prioritize actions. Contact the mainland and await rescue, or become self-reliant.
Memory ability is equally crucial.
Passengers need to recall learned survival skills, like remembering survival skills from childhood military training. Regular survival show viewers might recall how to send distress signals, fish, find fresh water, or treat illnesses, boosting survival chances. Creativity is also needed during this process. For example, someone must creatively use plane wreckage or island resources to contact the mainland or build escape vessels. After good ideas emerge, motor coordination and action abilities are needed to link thought with execution. For instance, dexterous individuals can build boats or signal transmitters. During this, passengers might distrust each other, splinter into factions, or fight together. Hence, empathy is essential. Understanding others' feelings through facial expressions, body posture, or vocal nuances forms the foundation of efficient collaboration. When people have reliable information, smooth dialogue, and collaboration, they need good decision-making skills to understand complex matters and make sound choices. For example, whether passengers should risk sailing on a homemade raft, such decisions are critical. Finally, there's a comprehensive ability, balancing all these skills mentioned earlier, as overemphasizing any one could cause problems. For instance, over-relying on memory might trap you in past information. If you only focus on reasoning, you might ignore intuition and emotions. Thus, forming collective wisdom requires balancing multiple abilities: judgment, reasoning, memory, creativity, motor coordination, empathetic decision-making. Beyond internal abilities, collective wisdom also needs external conditions. Let me illustrate with a successful historical case of collective wisdom. Anyone who's studied English must know about the Oxford English Dictionary. This dictionary is the gold standard for English learners, scientifically documenting every word's definition, origins, and evolution with encyclopedic thoroughness. Achieving this required editors to read all available literature and catalog every word usage, clearly impossible for one person. So the chief editor formally assembled a team. He recruited volunteers who each chose a historical period to exhaustively read its literature and compile word lists. The editorial department assigned search words. Volunteers marked slips noting book, page, and usage context. Compilers ultimately received over 6 million slips, taking 20-plus years just to complete and publish the first volume. This case shows that with proper coordination, group capabilities can far surpass any individuals. So what external conditions supported this dictionary project? First, agreed upon rules and standards, like word categorization before compilation. These rules and standards are essential for knowledge sharing, greatly reducing the cost of thinking and coordination.
Essential for collective wisdom.
The second condition is physical tools, like how the Oxford English Dictionary's wisdom was ultimately manifested on countless paper slips, not just abstract categories. Better tools naturally enable larger scale coordination and cooperation.
For example, traffic fatalities plummeted over the past 90 years.
In the US, deaths per million miles driven dropped from 24 in 1921 to just 1.1 by 2015. This decline stems directly from improved tools. On one hand, cars got more reliable brakes and stronger materials. On the other, road rule tools like markings and speed limits improved too, combining with drivers' intelligence. This made driving safer, and sustaining focus time and resources is collective wisdom's 0140. Third external condition. Why did the Oxford English Dictionary emerge in London, then the world's largest city? Because big cities have dense populations, abundant cafes, clubs, labs, and frequent interactions.
Plus, more institutions like companies and schools to mobilize people and resources, and face-to-face cues powerfully enable large-scale thinking.
The fourth condition is networks. The OED's editing volunteer communication formed a knowledge-gathering network. Similarly, today's peer-reviewed journal system is an effective academic network. Its design is simple yet infinitely scalable. Journals capture or spread knowledge, peer review filters quality, and publications accumulate human understanding. Finally, the most crucial element, collective wisdom needs an ambitious project, like the OED. Another example, the Manhattan Project during World War II, a legendary ambitious endeavor. Its goal was for America to design the atomic bomb before Germany. At the main site in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the project employed 7,500 people, with another 4,500 in Hanford, Washington. This project combined multiple disciplines and ultimately succeeded in building the atomic bomb. Of course, human energy is limited. Forming collective wisdom requires balancing energy expenditure, time investment, and expected returns. Given limited cognitive resources, many groups adopt a triggered hierarchy model for task processing.
Wait, what does that mean?
It means handling low-level tasks through standardized patterns with minimal thought or reflection until they fail or encounter issues, only then escalating to higher processing tiers.
This demands greater energy and time investment.
Like aviation's normal operations versus unexpected events, terrorist attacks, pilot suicide, or engine failures. Aviation safety systems then identify these special scenarios and prompt appropriate countermeasures. For example, crew management policies encourage junior pilots to challenge seniors' decisions, while regular disaster simulations train automatic emergency responses. All right, let's review Part 2's key points. Forming collective wisdom requires diverse abilities: observation, judgment, creativity, empathy, and balancing them. It also needs external supports: common rules, standards, necessary materials, robust systems, networks, and an ambitious project goal. Operationally, it requires flexible feedback or response mechanisms to optimize cognitive gains. So, how do people apply collective wisdom to concrete problems?
That's our third question today.
Let's take universities, exemplary models of collective wisdom application. Researchers ensure knowledge ecosystem tone through peer review and publications, enabling seamless circulation within the scientific community. Everyone can access the latest cutting-edge research findings. Universities then disseminate knowledge rapidly through teaching activities, enabling more people to engage in intellectual pursuits. Nowadays, more universities are developing open online courses, so anyone on Earth can access university education. Different universities and universities with society form structural divisions of labor. For example, comprehensive universities like Tsinghua University and Peking University equally emphasize research and teaching with diverse research directions. Specialized schools like Beijing University of Civil Engineering and Architecture and the Central Academy of Drama focus more on detailed research within fields, training highly specialized students. As for schools like Lanshan Vocational School, they primarily focus on student training with little scientific research, but explore practical skills. Although school attributes differ, each has its division of labor, collectively advancing wisdom. Additionally, universities have close ties with engineering, medical, military, and business sectors collaborating on specific issues to deepen knowledge. And one friend is acronym beyond universities, cities can also become subjects of collective wisdom. In the past, people believed a city's development depended heavily on its mayor. The mayor is important, but it's more ideal for diverse wisdoms in the city to participate in problem solving. Formulating policies and taking action. A few years ago, the author led a project called London Collaboration to mobilize organizations and citizens in urban governance, creating open, transparent, targeted collective wisdom. This project divides government into three layers. The first is national authorities controlling public spending. The second is the Mayor and Greater London Assembly. The third layer is 32 boroughs providing basic services like education and elderly care. The London Collaboration Conference is funded by all these organizations, with funds managed by non-governmental organizations, maintaining distance from authorities. This encourages the entire city to solve problems more effectively together. In this plan, key public institutions must open their data, such as economic conditions and traffic information across urban areas. The London Collaboration Project categorizes urban issues. Simple, predictable, repetitive tasks go to frontline workers like police, tax officers, or teachers. Emergencies, like scandals, mass complaints, or major new info, require senior managers to intervene and restore order. Beyond universities and cities, humanity itself can think collectively. The most visible form is world leaders' summits. For example, the 2010 Copenhagen Conference, where global leaders negotiated a new climate treaty. It distilled input from 200-plus countries, fostering political, economic, ecological cooperation. Thus, properly organized collective wisdom lets universities, cities, even humanity think as one collective. Finally, the most practical tool in collective wisdom: meetings. Mention meetings and many groan. With emails, calls, video, why still gather? Many even feel meetings waste time. Indeed, companies innovate, like P&G's screen-surrounded boardroom. There, global leaders meet weekly, reviewing sales margins or customer preferences. Some companies go extreme lengths to reduce meeting fatigue. Yahoo caps meetings at 10 to 15 minutes. Others hold standing-only sessions. Amazon requires 6-page memos pre-meeting. Attendees read silently 30 minutes before discussing. Some meetings provide pause buttons. Anyone can press to stop a speaker. These tools aim to overthrow rigid traditions, letting anyone propose topics and choose discussions. Yet research confirms face-to-face meetings remain essential for collaboration and creativity. Therefore, it's essential to explore how to make meetings more effective. First, the physical meeting environment impacts effectiveness. An ideal setting should have ample natural light, quiet, spacious areas, and space for movement. Square or circular rooms work best, allowing eye contact that boosts engagement. Happy attendees maintain high efficiency, achievable through simple techniques, like serving coffee or snacks for short breaks. Second, ensure all participants fully grasp the meeting's purpose, structure, and content. Encourage clear argument articulation and questioning. Even assign challenger rules. Multimedia tools help visualize complex ideas, easing decision-making. Crucially, appropriately restrain dominant personalities during meetings. Extroverts often dominate. If I'm checked, others disengage. Though meetings seem cliché, redundancy has value. Every message carries built-in repetition, like internet packet switching. Nodes send acknowledgements. If missing, messages resend. Daily conversations use repetition to confirm accurate hearing. Redundancy prevents misunderstandings. Adding words or phrases through repetition or context reduces miscommunication risks. All right, let's revisit Part 3's key points. The author analyzed universities and cities as collective intelligence entities, proposing effective organizational models with real examples. Finally, practical meeting techniques were shared to help build collective wisdom. This book systematically explains collective wisdom's concepts, proposing human machine collaboration to enhance cognitive or decision abilities for global challenges. As people deepen their understanding of future society and intellectual forms, the concepts in this book deserve wider reference and study. All right, that concludes our interpretation of big thinking. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.